Good evening, wherever you're tuning in from. Do let me know in the chat. It's your boy Trader NJ back with another episode. Double stream today. I'm feeling a bit good. We have a very special guest on the show, a special guest indeed. My big bro, somebody who I respect greatly. And I know a lot of you guys are tuning in today to hear what he has to say, to see what he does, the usual, similarly with SC, you know how this show goes. We've had SC on now, we've had Trader Dank on, we've had Scott Melker on, and we've spoken about crypto and the markets in a detailed fashion. So today we're going to be talking with TraderXO, and we're going to be understanding a bit about his thoughts on the market, Bitcoin, Ethereum, global markets, macro, etc., etc., etc. As always, like, subscribe. If you're not subscribed to the channel, make sure you're subscribing, because I'm bringing content like this to you guys every single day at 12:15 p.m. London time, so you don't want to miss it. I do a daily show every single day where we cover Bitcoin, Ethereum, and the latest crypto news. Alternatively, we do other shows as well on this channel where we bring on special guests such as Trader SC and Trader XO, which have today. Oh, I'm a bit nervous. I'm a little bit nervous. Obviously, you got Big Bro in the chat. It's a little bit different to the usual X, Y, and Z. But yeah, look, this episode is sponsored by Prime XBT. So a massive shout out to Prime XBT for sponsoring this episode and making it happen. The link is in the description below. If you want to sign up, you can get up to a $7,000 bonus when depositing funds onto Prime XBT. So have a look at the link below and check it out. But I will introduce Trader XO now. I know you guys are all waiting. We've got a bunch of people in the chat. So spam up the chat, do what you're usually doing. I'm going to bring on Trader XO now to say hello. Let's do it.
Hey NG, what's happening, brother?
Trader XO, how is it going, my bro?
NG, my good brother. Hope you're well.
It's all good,
It's
man.
been a
It's
while.
so good to have you on, bro. It's so good to have you on.
That's good. That's good.
Talk to me, bro. How's things going? You've been nailing this market now for God knows how long, and we've got so many people in the chat that's showing you love. So many people. Look at
I
this.
appreciate it.
Look at this. Look at this. Everybody's screaming XO, 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 XO.
It's all good, man. The love's real, isn't it? It's
Yeah, man. Yeah,
the
man.
X both ways,
I
man.
was telling the guys today on the stream. I was saying the reason that this works is because we are a community like no other. We are a community. And because we're a community, that's what makes this shit bang. That's what makes this shit work. That's what makes this fun, entertaining for everybody that's joining. So talk to me, bro. How is things? How's Bitcoin? How's Ethereum?
Things are good, man. Things are better than I anticipated in terms of the downside risk to the market. I was very vocal about the fact that even on my own live streams since last November, that I had real concerns about the market. And the key thing is, it's not about nailing the top or the bottom. It's about positioning correctly, right? You have to really look at the market for what it's worth, listen to the fundamentals out there. But overall, I'm honestly, generally, probably some of the best trading I've personally experienced from my own abilities in terms of my own goals and standards. It's really great to see everything come to fruition over the last 12 months in terms of consistency. We're traders, we often make things more difficult than they should be, but really simplifying my process and just really taking a step back and looking at the bigger macro picture has really transpired into my trading over the last perhaps 9 to 12 months, really. So yeah, it's been really good, honestly. I'm really grateful.
Your trades have been absolute killer, bro. Your
Yeah,
trades have been
appreciate it.
absolute killer. A lot of people have been following you online, and your grasp of the bigger picture of the global markets, and that's kind of why I wanted you to come on the show today. Not just because you're Trader XO, but because I want to help people understand why looking at the bigger picture does actually work. A lot of people a lot of people, they want to trade on the 5 minute, they want to trade on the 15 minute with very little trading experience, and
Yeah.
a lot of the time it's difficult. When you tell somebody to zoom out and look at the bigger picture, it's very difficult at the time for them to actually follow suit and do that. But you're a prime example as to what happens when you zoom out and you do really understand the bigger picture before you trade. And that's kind of the message I wanted to get out today. You know, do you think? So I'll kick it off. I've got a question for you myself. Do you think that Bitcoin, the overall consensus for Bitcoin and crypto, do you think it's finished? Do you think it's over, or do you think that another cycle could be on the horizon?
No, I think Bitcoin is a very highly speculative asset. I don't think Bitcoin is going anywhere, if I'm honest with you. Um, and I don't know why many people are actually surprised by this magnitude of pullback. Look, I think it's very simple. A shitload of money was pumped into the economy, right? Fiscal policy, monetary policy by the Fed, central banks in terms of quantitative easing, right? Especially post COVID. Um, and I really do believe, and said it for quite some time, that look, who would have known or guessed that Bitcoin would rally from 3,000 to 69,000 in the space of 12 months? That's just not sustainable. And I think partially because there's a lot of hype. Sailor, you saw Raul Pal and all the other big boys really jumping on the Bitcoin bandwagon, talking about how it's a hedge against inflation. But in all honesty, when you look at the overall global liquidity injection into the monetary system, it's just overstimulus in terms of markets going significantly higher. Nasdaq went higher, equities went higher, Bitcoin went higher, everything went up. Right? It's like it was piss easy. You could throw a dart blindfold and hit bullseye, make some money. But the question is, when you took the blindfold off, did you have a pot to piss in with your profits, or did you burn it all away? So
100%. Man, honestly,
circumstances.
I think this bear market, it took a lot of people by surprise. I was one of the people that it took by surprise. In all honesty, I thought we had a bit more time to go, even though we were rallying for 2 years, for the better part of 2 years. I still thought we had some juice left to squeeze out of the lemon, but it took me by surprise just as much as it took everybody else by surprise too. Um, I think one of the biggest issues we have now is, well, amongst the community anyway, right? Because I can only speak for the community and not for the market. One of the issues that we have within the community as it stands is, people don't know how to even feel. People don't know how to feel. They don't know what to expect. They don't know what's going to happen next, and a lot of people are looking for that sort of guidance, just to sort of give them a direction as to where the market is going, what the market might do. So, one of the things I spoke about yesterday on the stream was different types of scenarios that could send Bitcoin back to a potential all-time high. And I wanted to know, is this something that you've been thinking about too? Scenarios, speculative scenarios, albeit.
Yeah. Yeah, I think look, Bitcoin going back to all-time highs is going to be difficult, but I think people misconstrue what is a bull market. Going back to all-time highs, even if we don't, look, even if we trade low, it's very simple. You have to look at the return on equity, right? If you bought Bitcoin at 50,000, which many people were shilling Bitcoin at 50,000 on the pullback from 69K, that 50,000 is a great level. This is where you want to be buying the dips or buying the pullbacks. To get a 5x on your equity, you'd have to see price go to 250K. I'd much rather see Bitcoin at 10K rally to 50K over the next 2 years. That's a much easier return on equity from a 5x perspective. I couldn't practically give a fuck if Bitcoin goes to 100K or 200K or not. Give me that range, that macro range where Bitcoin cycles between 10,000 and 50,000 for the next 5 years. I'll be a very happy trader, right? Do I believe in the longevity of Bitcoin? I think it's a highly speculative asset. I don't think it's going to replace any financial monetary system anytime soon. I think Bitcoin is great. It's a great experiment, but I am optimistic, but it remains to be seen. I just think that from a cyclical perspective, you buy Bitcoin at the macro lows, you'd have to nail the bottoms. You look for those big returns, you distribute at the top, you get out, and you play the same cycle. If you want to short it all the way back down, happy days that you're making money on the way back down as well. So that's how I view Bitcoin now. Perhaps slightly different to when I first started trading. I was a big believer in Bitcoin and everything it stood for, and all the other shit coins that came along with it. But I think as you evolve as a trader, you have to accept that nothing ever goes up and nothing ever goes down all the time unless it's an absolute shit coin. But Bitcoin for me isn't. I think it's the truly one decentralized cryptocurrency out there versus the rest. So therefore, I'm obviously optimistically bullish on the macro perspective of Bitcoin. I think if you look at where it was several years ago to where it is today, it's still at a high value. $20,000 isn't cheap per Bitcoin. So I think
Agreed.
if we do see a pullback, say to 15 or 10, I think that might be a very good opportunity from a cyclical play heading into the next halving, post halving.
Man, we are 10 minutes in the stream, and the amount of alpha that you've just dropped. I mean, are you guys loving this? Are you guys loving this? Because I'm loving this. I'm learning myself. I'm learning myself, and people are already saying in the chat, it's a great relief. This is what I meant. This is what I meant by people need some sort of guidance. People need to know what to feel, and by saying what you just said, you've just helped a lot of people. XO. A lot of people are looking to see whether or not Bitcoin is actually dead or not, and I think I think
Yeah.
I think when it comes to sort of Bitcoin and Ethereum, I think that if Bitcoin, I guess where I'm going with this is, look, I'll just spit it out, right? Do you think that anything could replace Bitcoin?
No, I don't think you could. I think the only threat to Bitcoin is regulation. But even then, if they bring about regulation, they're suppressing innovation and technology, right? Because Bitcoin is somewhat the cornerstone of blockchain technology. Now, that's not to say that the two need to coexist. You still can have blockchain technology without cryptocurrencies, and this is my argument why every altcoin out there, I'd say 99% are just bullshit, right? They Unless they provide some utility to a holder, fine. But is it something that's investable from a long-term perspective? Absolutely not. For example, if you bought Chainlink at 20 cents, 30 cents, you've watched it rally to $40. If you didn't take profit and round trip it all the way back down to $5, what the fuck were you doing? Because this is not something like a traditional stock market stock where you get some sort of value or equity in the company. It's just a token. It doesn't offer you anything. So it derives its value from what? Absolutely nothing, just utility on its own network, which is probably used for whatever reason. Again, that's my argument with altcoins. They're just cyclical in nature. They're great in bull markets. They're fantastic to short in bear markets, and the cycle is going to continue. But look, I think in terms of longevity, I think if anything is going to replace Bitcoin, I can't see it happening just yet. There's talk of central bank digital currencies, which I think is absolutely likely to be coming to the fore in the next several years. We've seen China, we've seen Europe talking about a central bank digital currency. So I think that may possibly some form of threat. But again, when you look at Bitcoin and its scarcity, then I'd like to believe that Bitcoin will hold for the test of time for the next several years at the very least.
Do you know what? It's funny that you mentioned that with the whole central bank thing. There was an article that I believe I covered today or yesterday. There was an article that I covered where there was a central bank. I can't remember the country. I believe it was actually today. But I just, for some reason, I can't remember the country. It's definitely not Singapore, but they're looking to establish cryptocurrency as their primary sort of currency
Yeah.
within their country. So it's something that I'm expecting to see at some stage, more so with the second world kind of countries as opposed to the first world. But you know what? I was having this theory, right? That the dollar itself, it can't continue in the way that it's going. And I was speaking to SC about this, and I said, what if they just nuked the dollar and they transformed it into a digital token themselves, and they could technically airdrop it to everyone because they've got unlimited amounts of money? And SC turned around and said, well, everything is pretty much digital now anyway.
Yeah.
So if at some stage, right, nobody has money, there's no money sort of regurgitating around within the economy, then what could they do? Are they going to just, you reckon they could just turn the money printer on again and just take inflation to a new level? Or what do you think that they could do?
Yeah, I think the whole financial system is built upon, especially post 2008. There's a lot more aggression, especially when it comes to QE and monetary policy. And unfortunately, that's just the way it is. I think it's just there's possible talk of devaluation of the dollar and global currencies. We're seeing a rise in property prices, real estate, etc. Gold is on the incline. I think gold, it feels like it's suppressed. I think gold should be trading higher. I think it will trade higher over the years. Um, so yeah, I mean, there's always that concern that how sustainable is the current financial system, and at what point does it get out of control into a death spiral? You see the collapse of various economies throughout the Middle East and South America. You know, you and me were big fans of Lebanon. It's one of my favorite countries to visit on holiday. You've
Yep.
seen their currency collapse. It collapsed. It's gone to shit. You know, people
Yep. Big time. Big time.
people were scrambling to the banks to pull out dollars, and they were suspended from pulling out dollars. And then Bitcoin had some sort of presence in Lebanon as well, where people were exchanging money or buying Bitcoin from wherever they could hold Bitcoin, essentially, as opposed to just having the Lebanese currency in their bank accounts, because it was just getting absolutely smashed and annihilated. So that's the real concern, I think, from a monetary perspective for various countries as well. You look at the effects of war and legislation on Russia and how it affected the Russian ruble against the dollar. So it's a real threat. War is a real threat. Global policy or government policies are threats to other nations if they don't adhere to the legislations or terms and conditions being forced by the West or whoever is in charge. It's one of the way they can squeeze you is basically bring you into financial ruin. So perhaps Bitcoin is some sort of sovereign way of perhaps obfuscating or staying away from all that shit.
Maybe, maybe it's a possibility. I mean, at the moment, Bitcoin very correlated when it comes to the stocks, and the stocks are well, as we know, over the last couple of months. Well, not couple, but over the last sort of nearly a year now, the stocks have been dumping like crazy, and Bitcoin is coupled with that. So, is Bitcoin, when we say sovereign, is Bitcoin? Do you reckon Bitcoin could ever decouple from the stock market? Would it need to be in a bullish scenario to decouple from the stock market, or could a bearish scenario decouple it as well? That's the only thing that tends to worry me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that without Bitcoin, I think that if we lose Bitcoin for any reason, then what would keep this market floating? That's what bothers me. You know what I mean? That's the only thing that I don't really see anybody talking about. What would happen if we lost Bitcoin? Would crypto survive? Would crypto live? Would something take its place? Or would the rest of the market just follow suit and go to zero as well? It's the only thing that kind of really, really worries me. Have you ever thought about that?
Yeah, I have. I think, look, it only takes one country, such as America, to come out and say, right, we're going to ban Bitcoin transactions or Bitcoin, from being integrated into payment systems, right? You've seen PayPal, you've seen Amazon and other companies accepting Bitcoin as a payment. I think Amazon are, or have they? I can't recall if they did, but even Tesla accepting payment in Bitcoin. So if regulation comes out, I think that's really going to be a big step backwards for Bitcoin. I think regulation is good, right? Because look, I think if you saw the shit that kicked off in DeFi, and if we want to see acceptance of stable coins and digital currencies in the crypto space, I think regulation is good because it kind of gives some level of safety nets to speculative investors. If you look at many of the hedge funds that are out there, they'd like to gain exposure to Bitcoin, but unfortunately, because of some of the regulations and restrictions around cryptocurrencies, it's difficult for them to gain exposure. So perhaps they go via ETF instead. So I really do believe regulation will eventually come. I think regulation of stable coins is necessary as well. And I don't think it's going to be, we're going to ban stable coins. I think it's more so, right, okay, if you have a stable coin, we want to know exactly what it's backed by, right? We've seen a lot of FUD surrounding Tether. We know USDC is apparently one-to-one backed by dollar reserves. So what is actually backing some of these stable coins? And you saw that with Luna UST, algorithmic stable coin, shitcoin Ponzi, which collapsed, caused a massive contagion effect on cryptocurrencies. So, I do think regulation is good. I think it is required, and I think it'll help perhaps shed some light on the space and move it into a better direction than the current shit show that we just witnessed over the last few months.
So even if something like regulation came into the space, you reckon Bitcoin will still potentially find its way to give us another cycle, even if it was range play, even if we were stuck in that range?
Yeah, I do. I think it's very simple. Supply and demand basics. Again, if you look at the halving in 2024, We know that every cycle, Bitcoin pre-halving, just before the halving and post-halving, Bitcoin does well. So ultimately, as far as I'm concerned, I think it's this now what we have in front of us over the next 12 months is a fantastic time to start scaling into Bitcoin. I mean, come on, let's be honest. If you saw Bitcoin at 50, 60K, right, 6 months ago, wouldn't you love to buy Bitcoin down here at 10K or 15K? You absolutely would. So
That's a fantastic.
it's
That's yeah, yeah,
it's one of those opportunities where personally, I was concerned about the market when Bitcoin was at 60K. I felt it was overextended. I wanted to get out of the market. I got out of the market. I shared my reasons why. Now everybody's turning bearish. Everybody's talking about, well, what does Bitcoin actually do? What's the value? What's the purpose? Where's the next narrative? This is brilliant from a buying perspective. Let people start footing the market because I think over the next 6 to 12 months, we're going to see some fantastic buying opportunities. If we see a recession, which I think there's arguments that we're already in a recession or we're heading
yep,
into a
yep.
recession. Generally, a recession is the best time, in my opinion. Max opportunity. Look at some of the stocks. Look at, obviously Netflix took a big shit, right? But if you look at some of the stocks out there, they're all giving a very good pullback. Apple, Amazon, Tesla, Snapchat got smashed to pieces. I'm not sure where Twitter is, but some of the big tech stocks out there really obliterated. So, these were stocks which I wouldn't want to touch or didn't even think of touching from a long-term perspective over the last 2 years. But now I'm looking at them thinking, I'm really interested in the stock market for once, as opposed to just buying a shitload of altcoins and sitting on them. I'd rather throw some money on the other side of the fence and look at what stocks can I pick up. Yeah,
Do you
whether it's
mean that? Do you mean that from an exposure perspective, or do
exposure
you?
perspective, yeah. Even from a trading perspective, I think there's two mindsets which people get confused with, right? One, I'm a trader primarily. Secondly, I'd like to make investment plays. Investments being, I'm not in something for the next 10, 15, 20 years. I'm in it for the next cycle. And when that cycle comes to an end, I'm getting the fuck out of the market.
Yeah, yeah, amazing. And you know what? We've seen this cycle repeat over and over again. But every time we get to the bear market, especially the early stages of a bear market, that's when we're always going to experience the most fear that we can get. But you know what? I've learned this from you. I've learned this mainly from you. The time to build, the time to work hard, that is during the most fuddiest parts of the bear market. Would you agree? Would you agree with that?
Yeah. It's bear markets are painful, honestly, because if we go through anything like we did in 2018, right now, so you remember that, how painful it was. You'd buy altcoins, you'd sit on them, you see them pop 20, 30%, everybody's calling alt season. 3 weeks later, guess what? They're back down to the same prices again.
New lows,
So,
even new lows.
yeah, new lows as well. So,
Everything got
yeah,
smashed to pieces in 2018. Some didn't recover. You know what I
that's
mean?
right. That's right. And I think that's the key thing. I think if this is people's first time in this cycle from 2019 through to 2020, well, guess what? You can now work on your weaknesses and work on your strengths. Improve your strengths, remove your weaknesses from the game of trading or investing. And that's essentially what I did. And you and I were both there in 2017, 18. We did really well. We got smashed to pieces. I went back. I looked at all my mistakes. I started understanding what market cycles were, how to play them, what tools I could use in my trading, which would help me benefit from a macro perspective. And sometimes it's just as simple as a moving average. You'd be surprised. I said it time and time again. If I can share my screen,
Definitely, bro. Definitely.
let me bring it up.
Definitely. I've just been informed that there's 250 people in the live chat. Absolute
Awesome.
legends, absolute legends. Please show some support by liking the video. Make sure that you're showing support to for the channel. Obviously, I want to bring more content like this for you guys as we go along. Exo's just sharing his screen now, but if we could get a like spike, if we can get a subscribe spike, let's let's show some support and show some love to XO as well, for coming on live. He doesn't have to do this. He's doing this for you guys. So make sure you're showing him some love.
Yep. Cheers, guys. So look, I mean, if we look at the EMAs, it's you don't have to be a trading genius, guys. It's just common sense. And it's backtesting data, right? You saw how even on a 3-day perspective, on a 3-day time frame, look at this for a trend. This was the previous market rally in 2017. You can see, right? If you look very carefully, the two things I want you to focus on here. is, first of all, you have a set of moving averages. I've got the 12 and the 21 EMAs here, right? One thing that you have to bear in mind, when price is in a range-bound environment like this, right, you're going to see a moving average or a set of moving averages do something like this, where price chops over, under, okay? This is a range-bound environment. Moving averages are not that great in range-bound environments. They often get chopped up, right? That's the first point. But once price gets out of a range, okay, let me just do this in a different color, and starts shifting to the upside, you can see the bands shifting up. What's key is look at the trajectory. This is very flat. Then look at the gradient. The gradient is to the upside. Flow is now to the upside. Momentum is to the upside. Essentially, you do not want to be fading this momentum until, right, where price eventually establishes some form of range. The moving average keeps squeezing higher, and eventually they'll tail off. Price gets chopped. The question is this reaccumulation or is this distribution or reaccumulation? You don't know until you break out of the range, push up higher, and guess what? The moving average continues. Sometimes you're going to get the wick below, fast reclaim back above, continuation higher, okay? That's essentially what you see on the way up. And then you come to a point in the market where you've had an extensive rally to the upside. Here's a trending market. It ranges for a good period of 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months, maybe a year. What happens to the moving average? Again, the moving average comes in, starts tailing off. Look at the trajectory from a steep gradient to a flat line, getting chopped up. This is now where you want to switch from a trending environment to a range bound environment, okay? You don't want to fade this on the way up. When price establishes a range, you want to start taking profits around these range highs and or at the breaks of the range low. Eventually, price will pick a direction. There's your shift in trend, either to the upside or to the downside. Now, if you look at that on the market, like I said, pay close attention to what we just discussed here, which was, again, if you look at the trajectory of the moving average, this now is a 3-day chart. Okay, we'll have a look at the weekly as well, but I'll show you the 3-day. Again, you've got what is a classical base, right? What did I say about bases? Moving averages, you see a compression, you see price chopping up. This is your accumulation base. You know you're in a bull market once we get above the range high. Just this is a classical range accumulation, double bottom, triple bottom, wick off accumulation like schematic. Okay, then look at the trends. There's your reaccumulation. Notice how price deviates below, didn't give a death cross, slight cross, not a death cross, reclaim back above, held the level, and you see that continuation higher and higher and higher. When you drop down onto the weekly or drop to the weekly chart, there's that trending market. Why do you want to fade this to the upside? Okay, so this will actually outperform a lot of players in the markets. And equally, when you get to the top, there's your blow off the top. Huge expansion away from the moving average. If we just plot this here, look at where price is relevant to where the moving averages are. When you see this type of action, it's quite likely that we're going to establish a range on the lower time frame, and eventually a decision is going to be made. Either we're going to continue higher or lower. It's being aware of what your drawdown is. Just look at the move up. Look at the origin. It rallied from $53, $60, wherever it was, $400 back in January 2017 through to December 2017 to $20,000. Okay, and if you run it forward, what do we get? There's your range, break of the range, moving averages, mean reversion back to the MAs. This is where you really want to be cautious now. And if you just roll it forward, there's your break. Okay, and that's on a weekly chart. Can't reclaim back above. Now, what's key here is look at the trajectory of the moving average. Even when you drop to a 3-day, you see a form of distribution. Price is holding here. You can map out another range, right? This here is your range high. There's your swing low. This is your range. Break below, underside retest, sell off. So really breaking it down level to level. And your signs are here. Expansion to the upside. Look at the trajectory of the moving average. And then it starts tailing off, tailing off. This is where you want to start being concerned about risk in the market. Okay. So again, let's just fast forward back to the weeklies.
Do you mind if I ask you a very quick question, just for the people in the chat? Do you mind if I just quickly ask?
Yeah, sure.
How how do we plot the moving average. So you see, you've got two averages there, right? You've got the blue
Yeah.
line and you've got the red line. If
Yeah.
I wanted to put that on my own chart, or if somebody in the chat wanted to put that in their own chart, what's the best way to do that? How would you add it?
Yeah, simply just go to indicators and type in EMA, and you click add the EMA. You'll see it appear up on the left hand side. Click on the settings and basically give the duration of the length the look back period. Okay, so here I've got the 12 EMA, which looks at the last 12 candles. Okay, and then subsequently I've got the 21, which looks at the last 21 candles, and that really should be in blue, and the primary or the EMA 12 should be in red. Doesn't really make a difference, but there we go. So as I was saying, again, if you look at the EMAs in a bull market, there's your trajectory. Look at the gradient to the upside. You don't want to be fading this market. As long as price is holding above its continuation until you get a range bound environment, this now is where you want to start paying attention that we're no longer in a trend. We could be in a form of distribution or reaccumulation. You don't know until you get the breakdown. And if you roll it back to this phase, this I clearly remember in April where I said I'm getting out of the markets. I shared it on my live streams. I shared it on my Twitter feed that take profit, get out of the markets. I think there's risk to the downside because look, Bitcoin, it's deviated above this swing high once, a second deviation, underside retest. Look at the moving average. Aggressive trajectory, gradients to the upside, and then it starts slowing down, flatlining here. This is your cause for concern. This is where you really had 1, 2, 3 attempts to take profit. Eventually you trade under it, and guess what happens? Like I said, look at that chopping environment. Here, it's very clean. We don't get much chop below it. Any short-lived trades below or price trading below is a deviation. Reclaim back above, continuation higher. Same again, several days worth of deviation. Reclaim back above, look at the expansion. Then look at this, chop, 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 going sideways. Gradient goes flatlining, then it rolls off. This is a slowdown in momentum. This is when you want to start thinking about taking profits because you've got a very easy way of getting back on board, which is above this macro range high. Reclaim above there, it's going to go higher. Okay. And again, you can apply the same concepts. Look at this trend down. The minute we reclaimed, and this is where I actually longed. I don't know why people assumed that I was fucking ultra bearish here. I had every right to be bearish because I don't know if this is going to break down. But the minute we reclaimed the level, right after rejection, deviation above, got back below, rejection, then we got above it, closed several days above it. At the off of these kilos, there's a continuation higher, another deviation below, get back over, ride it higher. But again, look at the trajectory to the upside, slight pullback there, reclaim back above. Again, you can see it tailing off, get back below it. And when you look at the 3-day chart, right, how often has price just on the 3-day chart? How often has price traded above the 1221? Not very often. Perhaps once, short-lived deviation got back below, short-lived deviation got back below. And again here, we shorted this, right, into the supply zone, sell-off. So if you look at price, the trend is clearly to the downside. So back to what I was saying, sometimes you don't have to have a complex system. This alone has out-traded many people out there in terms of their bullish narrative. You want to trade with the trend, not against the trend. And when you look at the context of price, you've only had on a weekly time frame one occurrence, perhaps 3 weekly candles above the 1221. For what reason, if any, was there any need to be bullish? There wasn't. Okay, so you can see that on the way up, same principles apply. Get below, get the fuck out of the market. Same again. Momentum is to the downside. And this is what I mean. You can probably apply this to any altcoin. Say, let's have a look at Link. Same shit again. Go to the 3-day, or perhaps Solana was a cleaner example. Again, Solana was a beautiful example. I talked about Solana going all the way back to $50 when we were around about 170, 180. I clearly shared this in January. I said on the 31st of December that I'm going to set bids on Solana at $80, which is round about here, and $50, which is round about here. Okay. Reason because if this is our macro swing high, this is a deviation, got back below. Look at the moving averages. This is now tailing over. Any retest of this 215 level if it can get there, would have been a brilliant short. Looking for lower prices. Why? Because you've got a higher high. Now you've got a break in market structure. There's your break in market structure. Lower low. Looking for a lower high. This is where you want to short all the way back down, at least into here. Then break below here. You can take into $80 and $50. Let's run that forward. Right? Look at the moving averages. Weakness. Now, for momentum to continue, you want to see price really reclaim back above the moving averages. But not only reclaim, you need to see them cross over, give a golden cross. Do we ever see that on Solana? If I just remove some of my drawings, and give me a second.
Yeah,
We'll
bro. This is. I'm part of the comments right now. I'm part of the chat.
Yeah. We'll have a very clear, and it's just sometimes as simple as this. Look at the bigger picture. Look at the narrative. The high time frame chart takes precedence over the low time frame charts. When you run it forward, I already defined this as one level. There's your lower high. You can start looking for shorts on a rejection. There's target 1, target 2, $50. Look at the MAs. That's on a 3-day. Look at the daily. It's all down. Why are people trying to knife catch this shit to the upside? And even then, you've got resistance at the MAs. There's no cross here. Everything is just a deviation. The minute it gets back below, short the shit out of it to the next leg down. So deviations can occur at moving averages, and you want to be flowing in the direction and the gradient. Look at the gradient. This gradient is fairly steep. It's telling you not to fucking knife catch, but to mean revert. So any mean reversions are shorting opportunities. So if you look at this example, I'm looking for price to come back here now. These moving averages should align. Any rejection or deviation, there's your trigger at 180s, 120s, down to $75. That is what I was looking for. That's the trade that we took on Solana. If you run it forward again, what do we get? There's reversion back to the mean, slight deviation above it. Any loss of these levels now, because look, we haven't had the crossover yet. We may get a small cross, but if it's short-lived and it loses the level, this needs shorting. And there we go. Okay. Got back under again. Any underside retest. There we go. Look at that. How clean is that? Straight to our target. Boom. It's a simple system on a higher time frame, but it's very effective, right? And that's just me basically talking through the charts, not really having memorized any of this shit, but showing you how the process can be applied with moving averages. Then you can talk about, refining your system, but ultimately from a high time frame macro perspective or high time frame narrative, it's just sometimes as simple as this. You'd have to overcomplicate it.
Bro, I mean, but
it's a moving average is a lagging indicator, right? You've got the whole MA, which is a zero lag indicator, but I prefer to use the 12 and the 21. You can use the variants of EMAs, but ultimately, look, every time there's been a reversion back to the mean on the weekly, it's been very, very short-lived. Short deviation back above into the supply zone. This is a weekly supply zone. Up candle before the significant down move. Retest of the underside. Sure, this is a break of market structure here. So, unfortunately, I think swing season is almost over. These types of moves that we captured in the markets, Matic was another one. We won't see this for quite some time. So you really have to now adapt to the low time frames, and which probably leads me onto my next part of the talk as to why I'll be trading I'll be changing my entire trading system for the next several months, because I think conditions have changed, right? A good trader has to have the ability to trade any time frame. The principles are all the same, and price is fractal essentially. So if you can master price action trading, right? If you look at this on a weekly, this is perhaps a weekly range. There's our range high. There's our range low. We're now trading below the lows. There's our mid-level, okay? There's range. The concepts are the same. There's a deviation, got back inside, short it all the way down to the mid, underside mid retest, short it down to the range lows, right? And there's no different on the 4-hour chart, because if you map out a 4-hour chart or a daily chart, we've got another range here. There's our range high. There's our range low. There's a deviation above, right, into this supply zone. And this is the exact setup that I shared 2-3 weeks ago on Matic, that any pushes up into this daily supply zone where price, look at the origin, look at where price sold off aggressively from. It was this level here. You'd expect people to take profits from their longs and shorts the piling. And what do you see? Price rolling over, longs taking profit. To close your long, you've got to open the other side of the trade. And along with the shorters, there's your momentum to the downside. Okay, so again, just another range. That's all it is. And if you take the mid of this, essentially we're looking for this level here, more or less almost tagged it. But eventually I'm looking for Matic to trade around about 25 cents. Now, if you're bringing the EMAs in again, right, the 12 and the 21 on the daily, you'll see the direction, the momentum is to the downside. There's absolutely nothing bullish here. So, everybody who got excited over the last 2-3 weeks, fortunately, you got suckered into a deviation above the EMAs. This is on the daily 1221 into this supply zone, got back below, lights out. Okay, so there's not even been a bull golden cross here on the 1221. So again, the pressure and momentum is still to the downside. And before you can really think about being macro bullish on this, you've got to see compression of these bands. These bands, the gradient is to the downside. You need to see the bands smooth out or flatline into something like this where it compresses. Okay. And this is where you're going to get a range.
A quick
When you get the
question for
range,
you. A quick question for you, big bro. And I apologize for interrupting there. It's literally just off what you're saying now, but I just want to make sure that everybody in the chat sort of understands when I do ask, just because I want to ask it from their perspective. So,
sure.
say for instance, you were just talking now about how you want to see the bands compress, right?
Yeah.
So at the moment, let's say for instance, we're shorting Matic to say, for instance, 25 cents as an example, right? Hypothetically speaking, if you were shorting it to 25 cents and the target hits, let's say for instance that's the low for Matic.
Yeah.
What would we want to see using this type of strategy? What would we want to see to give us an indication that this might be the low for this particular pair?
You never know when the low is, to be honest with you, Nas. Nobody knows where the low is. You just have to trade levels, right? And again, if you go back to historical data, if you look at perhaps something like this as a range between 2 and maybe 1 cent, this is what you want to see. You want to see price, right? Stay in a range, okay? There's your range low. There's your deviation above. There's your deviation. Sorry, there's your deviation below. There's the deviation above, okay? If you look at price action here, right? Look where Matic came from. Okay, that's all. That's the only data that we've got. Fair enough. This was back in 2019, but this is the type of environment that I'd want to see. Just pure range bound trading, range lows, longs, target, range highs, or the mid level. Okay, this is the environment that I anticipate that we will be in over the next 6 to 12 months. It's not going to be a trending environment. It's going to be some form of range. Yes, you're going to see rallies in between, which might confuse people into thinking it's an alt season, but alt season doesn't come until you see something like this reclaim out of the range, hold above the range. If you look at the trajectory of the gradients of the MAs, they're fairly flat. Yeah, price is chopping up and down them, but then look what happens. You break out the range. This is your trending market. This is where you make big gains in the market. Okay, there's another reaccumulation, break out of the range, continuation higher. Okay, and before you know it, this is essentially now, this is obviously on the log charts, but there we go. There's Matic. That's what it all looks like. So I'm looking for that similar type of environment that I just shared. I need to see price effectively trade around these levels here where the MA start tailing off. And then you're going to get a range band. Range low to range high. Range low to range high. These are the trades that you want to be taking. And you can pick them off with some patience. You can wait 3, 4, 5 weeks. These are going to be high probability zones. That's essentially what I did with Matic. Everybody knows that I've been pretty much shorting Matic on the way down. And again, if you look at where Matic is now, this was our previous range high into this supply zone. This was the rejection. Look at the wicks. Look at what price is telling you. We're now looking for those range lows essentially. After that, now I don't know where the lows are. I'll be honest with you. I'm not trying to guess the lows as a trader. It's just about trading my setups. What are my setups? Understanding my trading. And if you don't know what your trading is or what your setups are, then you're never going to make it in trading. So, that concludes onto having a trading manual or having a trading plan. You should be in a position, right, where you can turn around, jump on a live stream, or talk to your friends, trader friends, and you can exactly map out the type of strategy that you're looking to trade. And if you can't do that, then you don't know what the fuck you're trading. You can't even describe your own setup. You've got to have some sort of discretionary system in there that incorporates risk management, incorporates thinking in probabilities, and it could be something like you might be just trading 4-hour divergences on the RSI into a supply zone, or longing 4-hour divergences into a demand zone. Now the next question is it price in a range, or is it in a trend, etc., etc. So you really have to think about your trading, map it out, create a trading manual, understanding your trading. Once you manage to find a strategy that's quite successful for you, then you know you're onto something. Then it's about fine tuning that strategy, squeezing out more winners, cutting out your losses, and eventually you'll have a very profitable system there, in my opinion. Yep, makes sense.
I'm speechless. I'm speechless. I mean, whew, how are you guys feeling all in the chat? Because for me, this is whoa, I feel like I'm part of the it doesn't feel like my show anymore. This is welcome to the XO show. Um
Welcome, NJ. It's good to have you on board. What do you want to talk about today? Take it away, Nas. Tell me
um,
what you're thinking.
yeah, so boom, what EMAs, yeah? EMAs looking alright
Yeah,
still, you know. Nah, bro, honestly, look, man, the amount of alpha that you drop in such a short amount of time, I mean, it I can't present myself in a articulate fashion. Not right now. That was amazing, so to speak. I mean, you know, going there was one bit that I picked up on which
yeah,
really sort of stuck with me, and that was the sort of range that we want to look for. You know, that 6 to 12 month range. That it's an ideal scenario. It's a
yeah. Of
scenario
course.
nonetheless, but an ideal one. That sort of 6 to 12 month scenario that you're looking for. I mean, don't you think that something would really need to change in the global market in order for us to break out of that range, similar to how we had at sort of 3 to 6K, similar to how we had sort of just after the COVID crash? Do you think that something would need to change in the global market
I
to?
think Look, I really hope your viewers are paying attention. People compare. You've got to understand, right? Context is king. Context isn't just about price. Context is about the environment. I've said it time and time again. What we saw in 2020, this drop was event driven, right? There's two things that you really have to take into consideration here. What's the difference between event driven, and then number two, structural? So let me just talk about this for 1 second. Event driven, COVID was a black swan event. It was a shock to the entire financial system. Every market suffered in quick time. Okay. Look at this, from 10K to 3K in the space of what? 4 weeks? Unbelievable,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, crazy.
Now, this, what we're seeing in the markets, right? This is not event driven. This is all structural. This is real economic conditions out there in the markets, right? We are in a high inflationary environment. We've seen oil prices go through the roof. We've seen supply chain issues globally, right? We've seen what else is there? A real risk off in markets. We've seen PMIs going down. So this is all because of the fundamentals in the market, in the global markets, in the economy. This is why this is structural. It's not going to be like a quick capitulation here, like we saw, and that's it. The bottom is in. Absolutely not. That's not to say that we can't wick low down or have some form of capitulation with a via reversal, right? We may get something like this. There's a sharp leg down, aggressive bounce back up to 25K, and then eventually, who knows? Yeah, people are going to assume this is going to be the bull market rally off of your reversal, but it might just be a range that we form between, I don't know, $10,000 and $25,000, something like
Well,
this.
it's actually funny you mentioned that. We had something like that in 2019, didn't we? We had yeah. So in
We had this
2019,
we had this huge rally from 3K to 14K, and everybody got euphorically bullish. But really, when you look at it, it's so simple. Again, Nas, if you go back in time, I think I was one of the few who was shorting this. Do you remember? I think
yes,
that was my fame to
I
claim.
will never forget, never forget. Yeah, you smashed it. You smashed
Yeah,
it on the way down.
that was pretty much my fame to claim on Twitter. I was one of the few guys who was shorting the rallies up here and calling for lower prices. And one of the things I was talking about, if you remember the 200 weekly moving average, that I think at some point we're going to hit the 200 weekly moving average.
Yeah,
When
you
prices
were
up
you were
here.
celebrating like crazy on the
Yeah,
COVID
yeah.
day, the day that the COVID
Yeah,
crash
I was
actually happened.
euphoric. I was euphoric.
It was
But
amazing. It was
yeah.
amazing. It was
But
amazing.
if you look at this, Nas, there's price, there's your range low, there's your range high, there's a mid level, there's your deviation. It's game over. Until we can reclaim this, it's game over. What happens? We come right all the way back. All this inefficiency, you see these moves up, they never
Yeah.
got filled back in. Now they're starting to get filled back in right to the origin. Where was the origin of this entire move up? Right there. Okay. Sideways action, healthy retracements, nice, efficient moves. This was the origin of price. When you zoom in, look at all this inefficiency here, single prints, thin move up, whatever you want to call it. You'd expect at some point this to get filled in. That's exactly what we filled in, right to this base of the candle. Look at the candle. It's a flat body candle. This had every probability on I think this is the level that SC and Paracurve had marked out 4,100 to come back and fill this in. And if you look right to the chart, that's exactly what we filled in. We didn't even close below, we just smashed into it.
Took out all the stops and then started.
Yeah, I think there's a misconception as to what a stop is. People assume that, oh yeah, the stop's resting here for the last 2-3 years. That's not the case. Basically, what stops are is basically areas of liquidity where people are likely to leave their stops, right? So for example, if you're shorting, if you're buying Bitcoin, say here, it's likely that you're going to place your stops here. So it's relevant to price. Don't assume that when people talk about stops resting here, don't think that for 1 year people left the stops here, bought Bitcoin and got stopped out. It's liquidity areas where if you look at price, right? Say for example, the current price is right here. Stops are going to be resting here. You know, from the short side, they're going to be resting here because people who short the market are probably likely to leave the stops here or above here. So the stops are never there for the next 10 years or 5 years. It's just where liquidity is likely to be present. So that's how we think of stops were taken. Now, if you look at the current chart on Bitcoin, I really struggle to see, right? When I look at this, and you know this as well, Nas, is like I look for thin, fast moves up, and thin, fast moves up often get retraced. And when I look at the chart, if this is our range high 2020, range low of 27, sorry, range high 2017, range low 2017. If you look at this move here, this is all very thin, fast, aggressive move above this range. I suspect at some point we fill all this in down to this down candle. This was the origin of the down candle, which kicked off the bull market rally, was it not? Right. So
Agreed. Yeah, agreed.
this is where Saylor stepped into the market. He bought some here and he bought a shitload here. Price wouldn't come down. Everybody was looking for this retest down here. It just wouldn't come. And eventually it took off. So if we do see some form of rally, I suspect we're going to see some sort of price action like this. Now, just to give you another example, right, to this, on the left, we've got Bitcoin. On the right, let's bring up another shitcoin, Phantom. Right? Let's look at the weekly or the 3-day Phantom. And I've made comparisons to this way back in March that, you know, don't be surprised, guys, if we see something similar.
Wow.
Right, there's your double top. Let me just expand this. Let me just clear these levels. How is this, right? When you compare it, yeah, this is Bitcoin. Obviously, it's not a shitcoin, but double top, double top, double top, double top. There's your base. There's your base. Look at the breakdown. There's a consolidation drop. There's a consolidation. I'm looking for the second leg lower down. If it comes, great. Happy days. Into this origin. Into where? There's our origin, okay? Think of this as Bitcoin's origin. Very similar. Up move, up move. Okay? There's our origin. Smashed into the origin. This, obviously, I don't think Bitcoin goes as adverse as Phantom. But it wouldn't surprise me if we did see 12,000 over the next 6 to 12 months. But you see the similarities there. I can give you another one. Let me think of another one. I think one might be interesting. Yep, there we go. Same shit again. Look at the daily chart. There's that double top. Okay. There's the base. And where's the origin of the move on here? Somewhere down here. Slightly nasty chart, but eventually this was the down candle. which kicked off the entire bull market. Where did it retrace to? All the way down. Look how minimal the pullback was. One big leg down, short relief, second big leg down. One big leg down, short relief, second leg down. Who knows whether this is going to be short-lived consolidation and eventually we take another leg down, or we get some sort of rally into 25, 26 in the next 3 months before we see a leg down. Who knows? But I'm not trying to say we're going to go to 10K. I'm just saying, look, just be cautious. I still think there's significant risk to the downside across markets. And I think we've pretty much started the middle innings, or we just surpassed the middle innings of the recessionary downtrend in markets across the board. So as far as I'm concerned, there's no real reason for me to be risk on in the markets. Any questions, anybody?
XO. I mean, oh, wow. I don't know what to say, bro. I don't know what to say, big bro. So for everyone in the chat, we're going to give XO a breather because he's been with us for the entire hour. He's given us, for those of you who want to know what a one-to-one looks like, that is what a one-to-one trading session looks like. We've got some crazy comments in here, XO. Just going crazy for you, man. Just going crazy for you.
Mate. I mean, that was just a warm-up session, bro. That wasn't even a one-to-one. That's just a high-level warm-up session of Pike and just keep it simple. It takes time to build that experience, but eventually, when you look at the bigger picture, it's fairly piss easy. Look, overall, why was I shorting the market? There's a swing fail on Bitcoin. Right, get the fuck out. Same on any shitcoin you want to pick. Pick a shitcoin, and I'll tell you where to short it from. Just a very simple strategy. Looking for those deviation plays, right? That's all I was looking for. And same again happened on AVAX, right? If you look at AVAX, there's our all-time highs. This here is your supply zone. And it pushes up into here. There's your high. There's your swing low. You know, this is one range here. It's up to you where you want to define ranges. There's no set rule or definitive way. But you know, you can have a mid-level here. And you can have your range quarters. There's one range quarter. There's another range quarter. Guess what? There's your deviation plays. Look at that. Quick into this swing fail. Couldn't reclaim above 100. The minute we got back below with a convincing down candle, closing down candle, short it to the downside, at least targeting this level here. So it's up to you. You know, there's many ways you can define a range. You could have taken this swing low here to this swing high to this mid level here. There's your perfect mid level as well. So there's many ways you can slice and dice a chart. You just have to know what works best for you and your strategy. But everybody, but you know, again, this is something that I openly shared in terms of, look, I'm shorting the shit automatic. 3-hour cap is at 3AC, and all the other guys out there were bullish on AVAX. But it's simple markets, right? There's your higher high, lower high, lower high, deviation above your lower high. People think this is a breaking market structure. It's not. There's your lower low, there's your lower low, there's your lower low, deviation, QM, whatever the fuck you want to call it, swing fail, drop. Okay, same happened on Bitcoin as well. There it is. Look into that supply zone. Everybody got bullish. I said that people are going to get bullish when this prints a higher high. It's just going to be a fake out, a QM, a swing fail, a stopper, and a deviation. There's your leg down. It's common. You see this quite often in markets, in trending markets, to give that fake out and then rip the other way. So it's not surprising as far as I'm concerned.
There is one question. There is one question that I actually really like in the chat. So I'll share it with you if you've got time to answer it. It should be a quick question. Crypto Kushner says, by the way, how much time did it take you for you to master your system?
In all honesty, my system has been relatively the same since mid 2019 once I understood price action. I spent the best part of 2018 through to 2019 studying price action, supply and demand trading. I'm happy to share all the original shit that I went through. If people want to see what I did, I'm happy to share that. Let me bring up. Should we do that now? Should we share some?
Well, do you know what it is, right? Do you know what? I'll tell you what it is. I'm a bit conscious of time. Obviously, I didn't want to keep you past the hour, but also at the same time, I want to bring you on again. I definitely want you to come back again and share your thoughts and your full I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm a bit flustered right now because this was a learning session for me as well. But I mean, how do you feel, bro? How do you feel? How did you enjoy your first appearance on the NJ show? Will you come back? Let the people know in the
Absolutely,
chat.
man.
Will you be coming back?
NJ is one of my NJ is a big time brother to me. You know, it's we go back, bro, back to 2000. Should we tell them a funny story now? Should we tell them the extra coin story?
We can certainly do that. We can certainly do that.
Yeah.
Would you like to take it away?
Go on, I'll let you do. You've got the more better melodramatics behind it. But tell them the story, man, how we met. You know, back
All
in
right. All right.
2017.
All right. So, for those of you who always ask me in the chat, you always ask me in the comments, you always ask me on Twitter, how do you know TraderXO? So, in 2017, when I first got into cryptocurrency, I was spending a lot of time on forums. I was spending a lot of time on the dark web. I was spending a lot of time sort of looking through Reddit posts, and I had no clue that Twitter was the hub for cryptocurrency. I had no clue about Telegram. I was all over the place looking for cryptocurrency. So I joined a course. I bumped across this course, and I'm not going to give you guys the name of this course, but I bumped into this course, and I looking over this course, I started learning about lending platforms, and we had BitConnect, which launched, and it did spectacular numbers. We had another token that launched called Regal Coin, right? I don't know if I'm getting any flashbacks for you guys here, but we had another token called Regal Coin. Now, Regal Coin did the same thing that BitConnect did. It rallied up. It did crazy numbers, and I was looking.
It went from 50 cents to like $80 now.
Well, that's the thing. That's the thing. It rallied so incredibly that, the only question I had was what was going to be the next big lending platform. And in one of these groups that I was digging into, one of these very, very newbie groups, I found this new token called Hextra. All right, Hextra Coin. And this was going to be the next big lending platform. So I said, okay, cool. How do I get on board? What is an ICO? How do I get involved in this ICO? And that is how I bumped across my big brother XO. I got a random message. I couldn't figure out for the life of me, how do I get involved with this ICO? So I dropped a post into this group and I said, guys, can anyone help me figure out how to do this? And one message popped up, a message popped up that changed my life forever. And it was TraderXO. And he said, hi, how's it going, bro? I'm just going to help you out real quick. I haven't really got that much time, but this is what you should do to get this ICO thing to work. So I saw these messages, and you guys all know how XO is. He articulates things in a very, very, very efficient manner. So he gave me everything that I needed in a few sentences. And just like you guys, I was mesmerized. So I go back and I'm DMing this guy and I'm like, bro, can I get just a bit more help? Just a bit more help. And I'm hearing nothing. He's gone completely quiet. Around 6 weeks later, he does the exact same thing again. He drops one paragraph with a few sentences of complete alpha. And he says, this is what you need to do if you want to get more involved with the likes of myself and anybody else that I'm working with. So I'm looking at these messages and I'm like, oh my God, there's not enough. It was like a Lord of the Rings story. It was literally like, yo, take this ring, go to Mordor. When you get there, I'm going to chat to you. All right. It was exactly like that. I followed the steps, and lo and behold, many years later, XO is if one of the greatest traders that I've only got good things to say about you, big bro. I've only got good things to say about you.
They were good days, man. I enjoyed Twitter back in them days, man.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Those days were the best. I mean,
2017, 18 were good.
I miss those days. I miss those days a lot. But equally, it's what a journey it's been to see both UNSC achieve and accomplish everything that you guys have done. I'm hoping that myself and Dank can do something similar. Provide value, give back to the crypto community that's helped us grow in the fashion that we've grown. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, man. Is there anything else that you might want to go over, XO, before we call it quits?
Yeah, we're good, man. We're good. I just think ultimately, I think if there is one thing, Nas, I really recommend people to understand.
Oh, sorry, we lost you for a second there, bro. Say that one more time, love.
Yeah, I think if there is one thing, I think people should really focus on the macro narrative out there as to what's happening, in terms of what's happening out there with global markets. You want to be bullish when it's time to be risk on. And I think, again, when I look at something, I think this is a good article that I can probably share on an ending note.
Go ahead, bro. Definitely go ahead. Yeah, there we go. Cool.
All right. So again, here's a link, bitcoinmagazine.com. They talk about the grid regime here, where you've got 4 regimes, and I've covered it on one of my live streams as well. You want to be bullish when growth is on the up and inflation is down. Okay, that's the best time to be exposed into the markets. Currently, what we've seen since 2020 through to best part of 21, growth on the up, inflation on the up. Now what we're seeing where we currently are is growth is slowing down, and we've seen inflation peak in America, right? But we've seen inflation rise to new all-time highs in Europe. So we're clearly in a phase of inflation. After inflation or stagflation, you get a phase of deflation or recession. That means growth is going down and inflation is going down. This is a very dangerous environment to be in, essentially, where you want to have minimum exposure to risk on assets. The time to really start focusing on buying altcoins or Bitcoin or risk on assets or stocks is when you see the transition from deflation back into this environment of growth, or Goldilocks. Okay, so just something to bear in mind. There's another way of looking at this. This is called the grid model. The other one is called like the quads, which is, I think, head guy. I'll bring that up and we can wrap it up there. Just give me a second. Screen.
Take your time, bro. Take your time. This is your show. This is your show as much as it's mine. So please, by all means, if you've got time, if you want to carry on, please feel free to do so. If not, feel free to share.
Yeah. Again, I'm just disclosure here. I'm not shilling anybody's sites here or whatever shit this is. But there's something.
Oh, don't worry about that, bro.
Yeah, there's something here on hedgeye.com university, and it talks about like grid regimes. And again, if you look at where we are in a quad 3 stagflation environment. We're going to head into a deflation environment. What does that tell you? Even highlights like best asset class in terms of commodities, gold, commodities. Worst asset class is credit. Best equity sector, utilities, tech, energy, industrials. We've seen how energy has performed over the last 2-3 months. It's been doing well. Arguably, tech has been getting smashed. Again, worse equity sectors. So you can conclude from this like how to think about your positioning of a portfolio. But really, this is where you want to be risk on in equities, commodities, etc. with FX. So it's just something to bear in mind. You can find more information on this website here. But that's definitely been helpful. That's something where I started out a few years ago. Again, if you just zoom in here, when you've got growth accelerating, inflation slowing, that's a quad 1. Essentially, we're here. And I think we're going to go into this quad 4, growth slowing, inflation slowing, before we see bullish times again, where we go into growth accelerating, inflation slowing environment. All right. So I hope that helps.
Amazing, bro. I really can't stress how much myself, on behalf of myself and the community, I can't express any more thanks than I've already said.
Man, appreciate you having me on, bro.
It's an honor. It's a real honor. Honestly, I don't even know how to wrap up the stream. I don't even know how to wrap it up. I'm so grateful, XO. Thank you so much for your views and your insights, bro. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Let me just 1 second. So what I'll do now is I'll wrap up the stream here. Once again, thank you very much to TraderXO. XO, if you want to say goodbye to the people.
Yep. Cheers, guys. Thank you very much for tuning in. God bless and stay safe out there, guys. Hopefully we'll crush the next market cycle together. Yeah. Okay.
Amazing. Take care, XO. Thank you very much, my bro. Thank you very much. Well, guys, did you guys enjoy that episode? That is the question I have for you. Was this not the best episode of the NJ show that we've had? Would you not agree? Let me know. Leave your comments. If you found this content useful, if you enjoyed it, like the video, subscribe to the channel. It really does go a long way. It supports and helps me bring more content out for you guys. If we continue to grow in the fashion that we're growing, if we continue to push and deliver as a community, maybe we'll get TraderXO back on. Maybe we can have an episode with TraderXO and TraderSC all on the same show. We don't know. We don't know. The future will tell itself. It will unfold as it goes along. But I want to thank all of you guys for tuning in, for joining the show, for being for engaging, for being a great audience. I appreciate all of you guys. A massive, massive shout out to Prime XBT for sponsoring this episode, our first sponsor of the NJ show. I've left a link in the description below if you guys want to sign up to Prime XBT, and well, you guys can do whatever you want to do. But yeah, anyway, I will see you guys for the next stream, which will be on Monday at 12:15. Potentially, if I'm not flying, we should be good to go. Otherwise, I will let you know on Twitter. A final message from me, and a quick final message from me. I am doing a giveaway on Twitter in light of 2,000 subscribers. So because 2,000 of you lovely people decided to subscribe to the NJ show first, I'm doing a giveaway. Go over to my Twitter at TraderNJ1. The link can be found in the description below as well for my Twitter. Go over there, scroll down a little bit, look for the giveaway, get involved. I'm going to be announcing the winners in 4 hours, 4 to 5 hours. So you have a short amount of time to get involved in that. So once again, I appreciate all of you, and I shall see you next week for another episode of the NJ Show. Goodbye and God bless.